Quick spoiler alert, this video will discuss the fates of various Jedi characters within the Star Wars galaxy. And that does include parts of the ending to Star Wars Jedi Survivor a little later on. Just don't be mad when it eventually happens. Remember, anger leads to hate leads to suffering, etc., etc.
The time has come. Execute Order 66.
Order 66 saw to the killing of thousands of Jedi, effectively rendering the Order extinct and snuffing out their influence on all galactic matters.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
It should have been Emperor Palpatine's crowning achievement, laying down the very obstacles in the way of his complete dominion, but no, it wasn't. Order 66 was Palpatine's greatest failure, an incredibly stupid, short-sighted choice, and here's why.
No, you must die!
After Mace Windu's failed attempt to arrest Palpatine for his true nature as a Sith Lord, and the dark side seduction of Anakin Skywalker, everything went into motion pretty quickly. Execute Order 66 were the words that triggered the programming and the behavioral modification biochips in almost all the Grand Army of the Republic clone troopers' brains to label the Jedi traitors. There are few exceptions to this, notably most of Clone Force 99 and eventually Captain Rex. But other than those, the clones were helpless to ignore the programming and summarily executed all the Jedi, starting with the ones they were assigned to accompany, and then moving on to eliminating even suspected Jedi on sight. And then there was the Coruscant Temple. Seems pretty thorough. By taking advantage of an obscure failsafe built into clone programming by the Kaminoans, it was all pretty tidily taken care of, except some of the strongest Force users remained. Let's focus on the two that would most directly lead to Palpatine's downfall: Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and Grandmaster Yoda. We know how much influence both would have on the lives of Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia Organa by the time they reached 19 years old and beyond, both by directly training and influencing Luke, and in Obi-Wan's case, protecting and influencing young Leia. I hope I'm not spoiling you by saying how key the siblings were in winning the Galactic Civil War and beyond. If I am spoiling it for you, what are you doing even?
How embarrassing.
Arguably, the twins were a wild card Palpatine absolutely didn't know about at first, or they would have been executed as young as possible. But the facts that 1, he was too arrogant to account for those possible loose ends, or more closely examine what went on with Padme, and 2, his forces failed to find them all throughout those many vulnerable years, are counts against the effectiveness of his plan. Obi-Wan and Yoda sent countermeasures into play almost immediately as the two undertook a dangerous mission to infiltrate the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Vader set a communication beacon telling all surviving Jedi to come to the temple, which we know to have been a trap. Obi-Wan changed the beacon to warn all Jedi to run away, which likely saved many. Leaving Obi-Wan alive may have been Emperor Sheev's biggest mistake, given his sheer Force mastery and skill, his loyalty to the Skywalker children, and his connection to Vader himself was sure to sow later conflict within his most trusted lieutenant, not to mention a lot of drama.
I am your father.
That's impossible!
Seriously, it would have been a lot easier for Palpatine if Obi-Wan was not able to come in clutch later on. He really should have made more of a concerted effort to kill him in particular.
I have the high ground!
Leaving this period and moving forward into Obi-Wan's isolation on Tatooine, he became a bit of a folklore.
Hello there.
A martyr and symbol of rebellion as people started to realize, hey, maybe this empire kind of sucks and the Jedi weren't so bad after all. Let's be honest here. Palpatine embarked on a huge undertaking, destroy an entire ideology and everyone tied to it, and delegated it to a bunch of incompetents. Or at the very least, people who didn't care about achieving it as much as he did. Sheev didn't do much dirty work aside from the Windu confrontation, and delegated most of it to Vader and the Inquisitors under him and the clones. Some of the clones actively struggled against the programming. They did not desire to kill the Jedi. And furthermore, a talented Force user could evade clones and Inquisitors. More on that later, but let's focus on Palpatine's most feared enforcer, Vader. It's clear through comics set between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back that Vader does eventually learn he has a son, but it doesn't seem that Vader ever shared this information with his boss. According to the book, from a certain point of view, The Empire Strikes Back, Palpatine finds out by seeing a vision of Vader's dreams, himself with Padme and Luke, in the Force, and thus they both start mentally plotting against each other.
Your patience has paid off.
Also in the comics, it's shown that one of Vader's main goals is to bring his wife Padme back, and he's willing to use and discard the Sith ideology to do it.
You underestimate my power!
We also saw in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series that while Vader's hunting down known Order 66 survivor Obi-Wan Kenobi, he leaves an entire Star Destroyer and its many Jedi apprehending resources in orbit, so he could go down to the surface alone and get his ass kicked. One could argue that deep down, who Anakin was and what he cared about always came before what Palpatine wanted Vader to do. Like many middle-aged men in middle management, maybe he realized his work balance was kinda bullshit and his family came first. Or maybe he was just kinda over it. Do you ever get stuck with a pain-in-the-ass assignment that never ends, so you just stop trying that hard?
Yes.
Maybe Order 66 was that for Vader. This is just a hypothesis, but the point is, not many really cared about achieving Palpatine's goals with his desired amount of intensity, and thus many Jedi got opportunities to escape. Heading into the Galactic Civil War, the Obi-Wan and Yoda ties are overt, but they certainly weren't alone as Order 66 survivors here.
I feel like something terrible has happened.
Ahsoka Tano, though she left the Jedi Order before Order 66, survived the initial onslaught and was still considered a high-priority target afterward as she helped build the beginnings of Bail Organa and Mon Mothma's rebellion. During a fateful fight with her former master, Ahsoka and Ezra Bridger found themselves in the world between worlds, a mystical plane of existence within the Force linking all time and space together. She kept Sidious, who obviously would want that high level of access to the Force for his own pursuit of power, out of there. And while Ahsoka didn't participate any further in the Galactic Civil War, she embarked on a spiritual journey and would later be a problem for the Imperial remnants following the war.
Something's coming. I sense it.
Post-war, it became clear several other key Jedi who would go on to influence, if not directly affect the fight against Palpatine's causes, survived as well. Caleb Doom, aka Kanan Jarrus, slipped through and was able to train Padawan Ezra Bridger and father another potential Jedi, Jacen Syndulla. Kelleran Beck was able to at least save Grogu, whose influence is still unknown but likely huge for the Jedi and the anti-First Order Mandalorians from the Jedi Temple. Jedi librarian Jocasta Nu, while ultimately executed by Vader, was able to preserve Jedi texts for Luke Skywalker and Rey's future use, as well as convince Vader to destroy a holocron containing the names of Force-sensitive children instead of turning it over to Palpatine. Another point to the take this job and shove it Vader-Palpatine theory. Jedi Knight Seer Junda and Padawan Cal Kestis also survived Order 66, with Seer serving as a huge part of Cal's journey into knightdom and beyond. Unfortunately, Seer does not survive Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but as it's clear from the ending, she is a motivator, if not a direct guiding force, on Cal as he continues forward in the time before the Battle of Yavin. Also revealed in Jedi Survivor, Seer and Cal were not the only two Order 66 survivors in these games. The villain is also a survivor. Dagan Gera is a former High Republic Jedi who believes he was slighted by the former Council and wants to create a new order to fight the Empire. On a similar note, Master Eno Cordova was also a former Jedi Master to Seer Junda and was revealed to have survived the Jedi Purge, but was killed off by Cal's friend Bo Dakuna when he told the Empire about a very important Jedi cache on Jeddah. And as the caboose on the betrayal train, Boat himself is also seen to be a Force-sensitive survivor before his eventual Empire turn, resulting in him carrying Dagan's orange-red lightsaber before his eventual death. While Seer, Dagan, Cordova, and Bode all eventually fall, this bit wasn't to demonstrate the Jedi's numbers, but to demonstrate it is possible for a Jedi or Force-sensitive to hide, even in the open, and what we think we know about how complete Order 66 was is almost never the whole story.
I don't know if I'm ready for what comes next.
There are many loose ends out there, such as 2 upcoming Force users seen in teasers for the Ahsoka series, Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati. It's unclear what their roles will be, perhaps they're new Sith Lords, perhaps they're former Inquisitors, but the Ahsoka panel at Star Wars Celebration recently confirmed at least Shin is an Order 66 survivor. They could even have a connection to the Star Wars Jedi game franchise, like, as some have theorized, through Taron Malicos, an Order 66 surviving Jedi Master who, to put it lightly, lost it and fell to the dark side before learning about the concept of magic via the Night Sisters of Dathomir and seemingly being entombed in rock. You may think I'm undermining my own point by bringing up potential Sith characters or Inquisitors having survived Order 66, but I'm actually emphasizing another point: chaos. Palpatine decided to eradicate an entire, huge ideology. And of course, due to various reasons, lack of foresight, lack of competence, he failed. But it wasn't because of those errors in the plan. He was always going to fail. The plan as a whole was inherently faulty, and there is no other conclusion but to fail.
All who gain power are afraid to lose it.
Even if you could wipe out every living Jedi in 19 BBY, there would always be more. Be they dark side Force users who changed sides, new Force users, people who idolized the Jedi and viewed them as martyrs, the Jedi who slipped through the cracks, the Jedi who put in the work to preserve their ways, they would have always found a way to return. You simply cannot just end an ideology through intimidation and show of force. As Princess Leia once said to Grand Moff Tarkin, the more you tighten your grasp, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. That is to say, you cannot maintain making someone think and do things they don't want to do. You can't have draconian rule forever and expect everyone to just agree to do it and all the terrifying measures you took to get there. There is no compelling and controlling everything, especially to an ultimately self-centered cause, and the more you try, the more resistance you will see. When Palpatine killed off most of the Jedi who were left fought harder, with more passion, and they inspired countless more to oppose Palpatine and the Empire too. That was what happened after Obi-Wan died. That was what happened after Luke died. And that probably will happen after Rey dies.
I won't.
This, my friends, is the concept of hope, which again I'll point out is the most central, driving concept of Star Wars. By creating an oppressive system that necessitated the oppressed to toil behind the scenes, to lay down their lives for the concept of hope, Palpatine set up his own downfall. Thanks for watching. I'm Kim Horcher, and for more Star Wars, is Dave Filoni making an Heir to the Empire movie? Make sure to check that out, and don't forget to follow and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.
Once more, the Sith will rule the galaxy.